Good afternoon. Time is short. The rest will just have to sit down. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the Futureview session with Ted Sarandos, the Chief Content Officer of Netflix. I hope you realize how privileged you are. According to the Hollywood Reporter, this is the man everyone in Hollywood wants to meet, and here you guys are getting to meet him for free today. It could not be coming at a more opportune moment because this week, I'm sure most of you realized, Netflix announced that it had, since the beginning of the year, had reached 1 million subscribers in the UK and Ireland. We'll possibly interrogate that number a bit later, but by any standards, it's a huge success. Which means now that Netflix is in a 3- or 4-way battle, however you define it, for a brand new market in the UK, involving Sky, Blinkbox, Love Film, and who's going to win? But the winner might be producers, because it is widely believed, and indeed Netflix is on record as saying, that they're going to have to spend an awful lot of money on original content, and that is why I think we've got such a good audience here today. But can you please, first of all, you can tweet, and if you want to remain anonymous, I will respect that. We will make time for the audience to ask questions, but first, can you please join me in welcoming Ted Sarandos to the podium.
How are you? Thank you very much. I'm really pleased to be here. This is my first time here, and as a TV nerd myself, I find this place to be heaven. It's a great conference. In my time as the Chief Content Officer at Netflix, I've seen a lot of change. We started as humbly as a DVD by post domestic-only service, and now we have become one of the most transformative international media companies on the planet. The way that we are crafting license agreements and now original programming, we're changing the way that people think about television and television viewing. And not just Netflix, we've seen this explosion of internet distribution of professional content. And today, Netflix is leading that charge. Every day I do read the headlines, the same as you read, about not about my busy calendar, but about the impending wars that are coming. That Netflix is in battle with Viacom because we're stealing viewers away from SpongeBob SquarePants and from producers and content owners. And we keep waiting for this battle to play out because it makes very good press. But the truth of it is, Netflix has emerged as a real friend and an ally to television companies, the producers of television shows, and most importantly, the consumers of filmed entertainment. We use the power and scale of the internet to globalize local content, to help create audience for shows that long after their premiere from broadcast television. We also have established economic partnerships that increasingly make it possible for high-quality television shows to be produced around the world. So this afternoon, before I sit for questions, I wanted to walk you through a few examples of those things, and also paint a clearer picture of what Netflix is, and more importantly, what it is not. So, there we go. So Netflix is a subscription entertainment service that for about $8 US, or the equivalent in a local market, our subscribers have the ability to watch instantly a broad selection of TV shows without commercials on nearly every device that has a screen and a connection to the internet. We are intensely focused on improving the consumer experience through better navigation, better choice, better streaming, particularly for smart TVs and for game consoles, where the most of Netflix viewing takes place. Although our television content varies region to region, we feature complete series, and forgive me, by the way, I'm from America, so if I say season, sometimes I mean series. If I say series, sometimes I mean season. So although our television content varies from region to region, we do feature complete series, typically months after the most recent episodes are aired on linear television. Because we don't offer in-season or series episodes, we are not competing with our suppliers for audience share, and because we don't have advertising, we're not competing with our suppliers for ad dollars. We are purely an on-demand service, we are purely a subscription service, and to date, we are purely a direct-to-consumer service. No transactional VOD, no electronic sell-through, no DVD sales, one product. When it comes to films, we offer an extremely competitive selection for our members to enjoy, often as early as the premium pay TV window. We often compete with the likes of Sky Movies and HBO for those rights. We also compete with free-to-air channels for films in later windows. And as both a free-to-air buyer, we are very keenly aware of the comings and goings of the changing of programming on linear television. And one of the things that we see, obviously, is a move away from feature film and more toward original programming everywhere we look. So Netflix has become, in many cases, the home for those displaced features. To a large extent, licensing remains stuck in a system conceived prior to the internet, which feels to me increasingly antiquated. Remember, as recently as the 1960s, movies used to exist only in the cinema, and then they would eventually disappear from the culture. After a while, so what we now see is that with the advent of television licensing, eventually home entertainment, that movies now enjoy a very long and lucrative shelf life. However, these windowed licensing system is very confusing to consumers in this internet age of what I want, when I want, where I want it. And I believe that confusion can be very costly to producers and distributors over time. So let me give you a quick example of the Hunger Games. So Netflix is the premium pay TV home for Hunger Games everywhere we operate. The US, Canada, Latin America, UK, and Ireland. So but depending on where you live in the world, the date that the movie premieres on Netflix, the range spans 7 months. So our members in Latin America began enjoying The Hunger Game on August 18th, the same day that it was released on DVD and for video on demand in that region. In Canada, The Hunger Games won't be available for another 4 months. In the UK, it won't be available for 6 months. And in the US, a few months after that. So with the global internet being treated as a regional distribution platform, consumers will only become more and more frustrated over time. It will cause piracy to flourish. And such, we are trying today to create more global relationships with our suppliers to address just that problem. And similar to film, there are great TV series that can't secure distribution on a linear channel in one market or another. And Netflix has happily become the first home video window for those titles. See how we're doing here. So, Shine Entertainment's BAFTA and Emmy-nominated series The Hour premieres new episodes every week on Netflix in Canada and throughout Latin America. 90210 and Damages also premiere and are available exclusively in Netflix in Canada. We also are the exclusive home in the US, Canada, UK, and Ireland for the English-language French-produced Borgia. Additionally, in the UK and Ireland, the critically acclaimed series Breaking Bad soon will premiere its 4th season exclusively on Netflix, joining the prior seasons that are already available. We are also the exclusive UK home to the comedy hits It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Portlandia, and next month, The League will premiere on Netflix. By exclusively licensing these kind of shows, our members, we are setting Netflix apart from all the other standalone subscription video services in terms of the value and the quality of what we deliver. And let me talk specifically how this model has helped rather than harmed our broadcast partners. In the US, we hold the exclusive syndication rights for the series Mad Men. With the first 4 seasons are available for our members to watch. Despite racking up a pile of awards and a mountain of praise, Mad Men has only found a modest audience in the US on the AMC network. But through our convenient, low-cost service, using very sophisticated personalization tools, we were able to find nearly 1 million people to watch every minute of every episode of Mad Men in the segment of time between the end of season 4 and the premiere of season 5. And that additional audience flocked to AMC to watch the premiere of the 5th season, bringing an additional 1 million people from 4 to 5 to the network, which is unheard of for a show in its 5th year. This is true. This was a real win-win for us, the networks, the producers of that show, and more importantly, the millions of additional viewers who love Mad Men having found it on Netflix. And Mad Men is just the kind of show our members love and networks struggle to produce. Super serialized nature of this show make it very difficult to syndicate and therefore challenged to be profitable in production. So Netflix is an eager buyer of these shows across all of our markets. We do remain concerned that serialized storytelling will increasingly lose out in favor of less expensive reality TV, more dependable competition television and sports, and non-serialized comedies. So this was a key motivating factor behind our decision to launch our own original series on Netflix. So we tested the waters a bit this year by licensing the runaway Norwegian hit Lilyhammer, debuting the show in US, Canada, and Latin America. Now, any folks have seen the show? There we go. I think a delightful but a very quirky show. It's 60% in Norwegian, subtitled in English. And even with those challenges, and as you are familiar in the US market, we racked up very impressive viewership. And we're very pleased to announce that a second season of Lilyhammer is underway. For us, it is a sizable hit. In the UK and Ireland, we will have Lilyhammer following its broadcast on the BBC. I want to show you a bit of video. I'm going to cue it up here to give you a sense of our first fully original series. So after House of Cards, we are going to debut the very long-awaited fourth season of the critically acclaimed series, Arrested Development. I'm going to run you through a few production stills. As much as we try to keep everything about Arrested Development under wraps, the cast is so excited about the show, they keep tweeting pictures from the set. So here's what we're seeing here. The entire cast, Jason Bateman, Michael Cera, Will Arnett, Jeffrey Tambor, Ron Howard, Portia de Rossi, they're all back. We're bringing in some incredible guest stars, and the entire writing team is reassembled for the show as well. So we are incredibly thrilled. That'll debut after House of Cards. And here we go. We're going to keep running through. That's a great one. And that brings us to Hemlock Grove. Currently in production in Toronto. We're about 3 episodes in. It's an original horror series by the executive produced and directed by horror master Eli Roth. Will reanimate classic monsters against a backdrop of industrial decline and the rise of biotechnology. Hemlock is shooting now. Stars. There we go. You could get a look at how things look in Toronto. And the series stars Famke Janssen, Bill Skarsgård, Landon Laborian, you may recognize him from Terra Nova, and Scotland's very own Dougray Scott. So we're thrilled with our first lineup of original shows. It also includes Orange is the New Black, a drama set in a women's prison created by Gingy Cohen, who created Weeds. These shows will set a high bar even for the best of premium pay television. I say that because I'd like to distinguish it from some of the kind of digital dabbling and original content that's happening online today. At Netflix, we pioneer everything we do. We love to challenge the conventions of television in every possible way. Should Sky, Comcast, and Canal Plus of the world be worried? No, they should be thrilled. Because we're giving consumers the kind of choice and excitement that is making them fall in love with TV all over again. As history shows time and time again, every time consumers are given choice, and choices that they love, they seem to find more money and more time to spend enjoying great TV shows and films. So we're proud to play a part of shaping that latest transformative stage in the history of television. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Just lest there be any doubt, when the House of Cards is finished, there will be a soundtrack.
There will be a soundtrack.
And
people will
worse.
Speak.
Yeah, just I mean, I thought you'd have done that, but just something.
You know, we were David Fincher is notoriously secretive about his work, and he does not let the suits like us get much of a look at it. But more importantly, he doesn't want the public to see much. So this was a rare sneak.
You gave an excellent summary of what you do, and indeed your move into creative production. I'm surprised you didn't mention the fact that this week's announcement of 1 million subscribers in the UK.
I was counting on you two. That's right.
Oh, I will. How many of that 1 million is made up of free introductory offers?
Oh, there's always a small percentage of people who are coming in and out of some period of a free trial.
How big a percentage?
I'm not sure.
A specialist in this particular area of the market?
It's no larger than it is in other parts of the country, in other parts of the world.
So what is it in other parts of the world then?
We have 1 million subscribers who have signed up and given us a credit card and have began to be an active subscriber. So it's the way we report our subscribers publicly.
Fine, yeah. But you don't know how many of those will stay as of this moment.
Of course.
Okay. Now you make it absolutely. Oh, there's one other slight problem. You maybe hadn't had time to look at all the research from Deloitte given to all these folks, but there's a chart here based on a proper survey of 4,000 people in the UK, and the good news for you is that 60% of the UK population have heard of Netflix.
How about that? Our numbers are slightly higher than that.
There is bad news as well. About 5% last month actually used the service. Now, is that a normal discrepancy between at the early stage of an introduction? Are you happy with that sort of discrepancy?
Absolutely. Remember, before we started streaming in the United States a little over 6 years ago, we had a 7-8 year history with DVDs and spending hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing. So our brand awareness was quite high. So when we launched in Canada, we launched in Latin America, and we launched in UK, our brand awareness was 0. And we launched here in January. So I don't know what other brands you've seen go from 0 to 60% in a few months, but...
You must have spent an awful lot of money.
You live here, did you see?
I did. One popped through my door too, like everybody else. Look, isn't there going to be, you say no battles, and we're not involved in battles, but in the UK market, isn't there going to be one hell of a battle for this new emerging market?
Look, what the new and emerging market is, I believe that over some period of time, we could argue about the timetable, but over some period of time, just about all entertainment is going to come into the home via the internet. And so it's a very big market, proven out by how big the last iteration of television has been. So you're talking about a large battlefield because it's a big, huge business, and everyone's going to battle it out to own this new space.
Okay. Quote from Michael Comish of Blinkbox, owned by Tesco, as you know.
Yes.
There is essentially a land grab going on where Love Film and Netflix are paying uneconomically high rates to increase their content offers. Are you being forced into unreasonably uncommercial purchase of rights?
No.
Elaborate maybe?
We are investing in this market because we believe that this has the potential to be a very large market. So why we're different and why companies like that, by the way, we're not in the same business with Blinkbox, but when we talk about that, most of the other folks like Blinkbox are in these revenue share businesses where they don't pay license fees, they pay revenue share.
Sure.
So but we actually pay license fees, competitive with television. So it's a well-established market. So if you think the fees are too high, then they're too high for BBC and Sky too.
Blinkbox calculates that since you came into the market, content rates have increased by 10 times.
That's funny. That's not true.
You know?
Who from Blinkbox said that?
I think it might be this aforesaid Michael Comish. But does it?
I put him on my accounting team.
Are you worried? Your accounting team. Are you worried that you're having to pay too much to get into this market?
What is too much? I mean, that's the question. And for me, the way that my licensing groups are measured is in viewing. So if something gets viewed a tremendous amount of time, let's pay a tremendous amount of money to get it. Okay. Because it's the engagement that matters, and that's what will grow the subscriber base. And that, by the way, it's not like we just are, dropped into town and started dropping money on these things. We've been doing this in the U.S., which is also quite a difficult media market, for over 6 years. And don't forget, last month we streamed 1 billion hours of content. Mm-hmm. So this is a big business and a big market, and yes, it's expensive.
Is Sky's recently launched Now TV a threat to your business? In that they have got such exclusive deals with Hollywood studios, yeah. I believe they will be able to show premieres before you can.
Yes, well, I don't know that it's a direct threat to our business, but when we think about our competitors, the ones that we look at are much more the shifting consumer behavior and perhaps the different evolutions of TV everywhere products that would, that in some cases, like in the US, Comcast has started a product called StreamPix that has explicitly said that their aim is to obsolete products like Netflix. Mm-hmm. So my question is that we have to just compete with them and sure. beat them. And on the technology side, I have 100% confidence that we outcompete them. And on the licensing side, we have a pretty good history of outcompeting them so far. And remember, the content is no less exclusive in the US as it is here.
Of course. A lot of people have looked at your company and its economic model and come up with a number of concerns. You have decided, and you may be right, that DVD is a dying market, but that was the area where you had wonderful exclusive distribution knowledge. You have decided that streaming is the future. These analysts say that streaming is easy for others to compete against you. You've said, you've acknowledged, yes, that might be so. We're now going into original content, and the number, I believe, is a commitment to 3.7 billion over the next 5 years. Is that number correct?
That is incorrect.
What is the correct one?
That is some analysts that rolled up the high end of all the potential output deals over a 10-year period. So,
Okay.
and that's not to original program. Original program is a tiny percentage of our total spend.
Could you share it with us, what the real figure is?
No. We don't disclose content costs.
But it's not on that
But
sort of level.
let me dispute two things. One is the DVD business is a fine business. There's no question. And it was a profitable business. And in fact, we used those profits to fund our entry into streaming. Yeah. And just the same way we're using the profits from domestic streaming to fund our entry into international streaming. Yeah. And it's not, and anyone who says it's an easy business to get into, tell that to who else? Who else is doing it? I mean, there's plenty of folks, and remember we compete, here in the UK, we compete against Love Film, who, if we believe the guy from Blinkbox, is spending a lot of money too. Yeah. And what we're seeing is I think we've got a far superior product.
Do you ever see a danger, though, in the medium, if not immediate future, that the big content owners will decide to do their own streaming? They probably didn't want to get into home postal DVD distribution, but they could take your business away from you.
They could get into it. They could do anything they would like, but they tend to be driven by profits. They're pretty smart people.
Yes.
The same reason that Disney does have a couple of stores that sells T-shirts, but most Mickey Mouse T-shirts aren't sold in Disney stores. They're sold in Walmarts and Targets. And retailing is a skill, and production is a skill. So I believe that they'll follow their skill.
Journalist for Forbes magazine, Panos Muradukatatis, wrote, Netflix doesn't have a sustainable competitive advantage because it cannot protect its business from competition. And there's no bargaining power to get favorable prices for video content. Is he right?
I disagree. I mean, in terms of no bargaining power, we are a pretty intricate part of every studio and network's P&L today. And to the extent that we continue to buy and license content from those players is important. In terms of not having any competitive barrier to entry, exclusive programming is an exclusive barrier to entry. Personalization technology is a barrier to entry. Scale is a huge barrier to entry. Yeah. That's why we're investing to grow internationally quickly. You want to establish a foothold in these markets quickly.
Chief Executive Time Warner, Glenn Britt, of course, he has his own particular point of view, but he believes that you are a middleman, like Blockbuster, and will go the way of Blockbuster eventually. Is there any tiny bit of truth in that?
Walmart's a middleman too, right? So.
Yes, yes. No, I can see that. But I'm very interested by your move into creative decision making. Have you any real expertise in doing that? And you'll probably tell me the numbers aren't correct, but it has been said that you've committed to 2 seasons.
Yes, that is correct.
That is correct. And that the commitment involves an expenditure of about $100 million. Is that also correct?
I can't comment on the expense of the show, but it's rather expensive.
So, in other words, that's as near as damn it.
It's an expensive show. I mean, paid television pays in the range for a 1-hour drama, as most people in this room will tell you, can be between $2 and $5 million an episode. So if you did it times 26, you can get yourself to 100.
So you've confirmed that. Thank you very much indeed. I knew we'd make progress eventually. But I don't want to be rude at all, but your whole business background, not you personally, of the company, is not in making creative decisions. And I've talked to well-known creatives, indeed one of them in this audience, who says, look, if you can get 50% of your judgments right, you're doing extraordinarily well. I mean, are you the right guys to be making these huge bets, which could actually, even if it's not 3.7 billion, could damage the future of the company?
No, I mean, here's what I think. What we do is very data-driven and hunches. So just like as early as our earliest days of DVD, we had to determine, based on a movie that does no box office, how many copies do we need? Yeah. And taste-based algorithms that we use today to determine what's the ultimate size of an audience for a show is what steers our ability to do the show. Now, I don't produce the show. I don't cast the show. I don't direct the show. What we do is we bet on production companies and producers that have a great track record, and we bet that they have that the elements that they have in place are going to create a great show. So am I willing to bet, whatever the dollar amount is, am I willing to bet that Beau Willimont coming off his Academy Award nomination for Eyes of March, with a great script, which we read all the episodes ahead of time, based on intellectual property that we have an enormously fast track record with on the BBC version of House of Cards on DVD. Remember, I know all those people who love that show. Based on Kevin Spacey, which we know all the people who love every Kevin Spacey movie. Based on David Fincher, we know all the people who love a David Fincher show. That David Fincher is going to put his name on this show. That David Fincher is going to take our money and make a lousy show with his name on it. I'm willing to make that bet that that's not what's going to happen. And beyond that, we have a production company that has a good track record of delivering. And I leave those in their hands. And remember, the difference, much different than when people choose, when they talk about the failure record of television shows on television, what that means is mostly that the show that they put on the air Wednesday night at 8 o'clock didn't get a very good audience. So for us, I don't care if you watch the show Wednesday night at 8 o'clock or 4 years from now at 8 o'clock or 4 years from now in the middle of the night. So I will get viewing of the shows. So the economics of this won't be zero. It will be, the worst case scenario is the show would be mediocre, the viewership is and we overpaid for it.
Okay. No, it's sort of normal. But for this audience, I mean,
that's not a unique risk, right?
No, okay. Yeah. For this audience, I think we need another sentence on what for many will be a new concept: taste-based algorithm.
Yes.
What in the name
that
of
was
God?
Nerdy. I'm sorry.
What in the name of God is that?
That's right. So what that tells me is there's a difference between somebody who
instinctive judgment as opposed to instinctive judgment. I like that show. Make it.
Right. There's nothing to do with my taste whatsoever. I mean, what this is that we use the data that we have. Remember, we have billions of ratings. These aren't just what people watch, what they didn't. It's what they watch and how they rated it, and how it interacts with with billions of ratings. That says, okay, if movie X, Y, and Z are coming out, that the audience for this movie is enormous, and the audience for this movie is it's kind of small, and not dependent on the marketing. Because the other thing, that happened with Lilyhammer, when we launched Lilyhammer in the United States, it was an unknown brand, and we launched the show with very little external marketing. It was almost all website. Our website created the audience for Lilyhammer using these algorithms based on the fact of, did you like Fargo? Did you like Sopranos? Do you like movies with subtitles? And I only pushed the show to those people. And the take rate is very high on those shows because people have great confidence in our recommendation engine.
Last question for me for the moment, because we want to bring in the audience. Do you feel comfortable that you and your commercial activities have given Rupert Murdoch the most enormous boost imaginable in the UK? He was about to lose exclusive rights to movies in the UK through our competition authorities. They recently did a flip-flop and said because Netflix has come into the market, there's now a vibrant creative market, and this has driven a number of Rupert Murdoch's competitors nuts. Are you happy to be such an ally of Rupert Murdoch in this country?
I will tell you this. I think that there is a competitive environment for content. I know that because we compete for this content. And I had no delusions that I was going to come to the UK and not have to compete with Sky Movies to get movie rights. In the United States, I have to compete with HBO and Showtime and Starz, and they're all equally locked up. So in the early goings of that competition commission, what we said is, this is a market-based problem and a market-based solution. If we give us a chance to compete against these guys, if we offer more and we still can't close deals, then you have an anti-competitive situation. Their finding, I thought, was only peculiar in that nothing really changed. We didn't unlock any of those deals yet. So just because our very presence in the market, I don't think changed the real competitive environment. It just changed the potential.
Atmosphere.
It changed the atmosphere for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And believe me, those deals come up every couple of years. We'll be at the table for every one of them.
And with your lawyers if necessary.
Yes. Yes.
Competition lawyers, I mean.
No, but I'll tell you though, I do think to sustainably compete, you have to build a better and better product. We can't rely on regulatory favoritism to compete with Sky, for sure. Okay,
questions I'm sure from the audience, and I should have said for Twitterers, it's #Fintry, and I'll try and keep a watch on that. But in the front row, sir, and say who you are, just so we know your prejudices and where you come from.
My name's Sam Anthony. I work for the BBC. I have no prejudices. I come to you without prejudice. Are you planning to get involved in the production of Unscripted? And if not, is that because it doesn't travel as well as drama?
Yes. The answer is yes. We are not pursuing it today for that very reason. formats seem to travel better in unscripted. And there doesn't seem to be a shortage of unscripted content for us to license, where in this case, I'm predicting that there will be a shortage of scripted, serialized content. That's why we're getting involved in that production.
Okay, and anyone else?
It doesn't do terribly well either. For us, I think linear television is the format itself, I think, is more suited to unscripted than on-demand programming.
Okay. Yes?
How are you going to schedule House of Cards? Because the Netflix experience is very much that when I go on, I'll watch an entire season or series in one hit. So you're just going to dump the whole series on, you're going to do it weekly?
Well, I retain the right to flip-flop, but our intent is to put them all up.
And you're not even a politician.
I think that it is a unique part of the experience, which is I don't feel like I want to risk guessing wrong how many episodes you're going to watch in a sitting. So by putting them all up, I serve the people who want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mentioned earlier about Breaking Bad. When we put up Breaking Bad in the U.S. 24 hours before the season 4 or 5 premiere, and in the 24 hours before the premiere, about 50,000 people watched all 13 episodes of the previous season. So.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? There must be. I think through the gloom I see Peter Fincham of ITV. Microphone, please.
It's not, but...
It's not, sorry, I thought it was. You're very close.
You just provided him an alibi, so he can do whatever he wants now.
I'm Simon Wells from OMG, Omnicom Media Group. I guess a lot of what you... a lot of driving subscription is price point, and that seems to be, certainly in the UK, competitive to Love Film. Do you see a model where you might bring in advertising in some form to reduce that and offer people a better deal if they're prepared to take some advertising?
We're not. We have no intention of going to. We've built the business, a very large business in the U.S. without advertising. We think it's part of the consumer proposition not to have advertising, and we think our price point is competitive without.
And is it important? Sky, for instance, now TV is going to be charging much more than you. Is it going to be a battle of who's the cheapest chips here or not?
No, I think we've priced well in the market. We're undercut, I believe, in the market.
But that's a sustainable. That's a number. Yeah. That's not an introductory offer.
No,
that's your sustainable price.
Correct.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, here. I'll not try to guess who you are in the dark. Tell me.
It's Peter.
Hey, Peter. Yes.
My name's Sherry. I work for UK TV. I was just curious, the process with bringing House of Cards. Did you approach them and say, we want to make this series, or did you just say, we're looking to make original content, and then they came and approached you?
It was an interesting happenstance meeting, actually, in that we were talking to Media Rights Capital, who produced the show, about other projects. And at the same time, they were unaware that we were contemplating original programming, and we were unaware that they were about to pitch the show. And they brought it up to us literally the weekend that they were going out to pitch to HBO and AMC and everybody. And they asked if we wanted to go to the pitch sessions. And I said, I'm interested in the show, but I don't want to go to the pitch session because we're not going to buy or not buy the show based on your pitch. So we did is put all the data together, and the data supported the decision to go forward. And the reason we went with such an aggressive number is, I would say, a number of episodes.
$100 million?
No, the number of episodes. Is that I believe there were 100 reasons not to do a show like that on Netflix, who had not done original programming before, and I needed to give them a really compelling reason to do it. So in this case, it was the commitment to go to 26 episodes. They knew they had 2 seasons in the bag going into the production, which afforded them to do, afforded incredible production scale, as you know. But more importantly, the writing staff, when they talked to me about how they craft the show, that the difference in writing a show when you know there is going to be a 26-hour is night and day in terms of the creative process. So.
And you can have a running theme, which you know is going to run.
Right. Yeah, you know that it's going to play out. You're not worried about getting past the first 6 or worse, the pilot.
Where's the pilot? Yeah, indeed. Anyone else out there? Oh yes, lots. We'll go here first, and then further back. Yeah. There's somebody very close behind you.
Hi, I'm Andy McDonald from C21 magazine. I saw you announce last week that you're going to launch in Scandinavia next.
Yes.
I just wondered why that particular market rather than, say, like Germany or France or Spain, and how much of a drain that's going to be on kind of finances to launch there.
So, and we just so you know, Netflix is a multinational company today. Our intent is that Netflix will be a global company. So yes, we announced Nordics will be our next place, but really it's just the rhythm of opening territories. Unfortunately, it's country by country negotiating the rights for the content. And what we're trying to do is select markets that we think we can get to rapid scale. The Nordics are great because it's a great economy, a large install base for broadband, a developed consumer behavior of getting content off the internet, and a big appetite for English language content. So
but France and Germany will follow. It's only a matter of time.
The rest of the world will follow. It's all a matter of time. That's true of anywhere you say.
Yeah, I know France and Germany are part of the rest of the world. I got that right. at the back there. Yeah.
You know what it would cost?
There was somebody at the back and he disappeared. No, can you get the microphone? And there was someone else at the front. Yes, I'll take you to see.
Thanks. Hi, Tim Whirlidge from Red Bee Media. In an increasingly algorithmic-driven world, are we in danger of second-guessing people to the detriment of introducing them to something that they wouldn't have otherwise have tried, something that their schedule, a linear TV schedule, does quite well?
I think this is a reference to the taste-based algorithm. As you can see, I'm taken with the concept.
Yes.
You're giving people just what they know they like, as opposed to opening things up their mind.
That's the difference is because I don't know if you've interacted with our service at all, but each choice you make unlocks another series of choices. So it's not like I get one glimpse of something to show you. Every time you look at the screen, I've got about 40 things to show you, and they change constantly based on what you're putting up. So there's not a massive concentration of viewing on any one piece of content. So it's not that we're only allowing you to see that or only allowing you to find that. You can browse the site and watch anything you want. And remember, it's a flat fee subscription, and if you hate the thing we recommend to you, turn it off and watch something else. So it's one thing to have this recommendation engine that says, we think you're going to love this, give us $10. We think you're going to love it and watch it. And we're right more than we're wrong, and that's why we think the product is a great service to consumers to help them make sense of a large list of content or help them find things in a short list of content. And
can we have a microphone down to the second row, please? And we're running out of time, so if anybody wants an urgent question, yeah.
Paul Tribitz, Ruby Film and Television. As you know, the UK is a very competitive market for content, and particularly for the makers of content and the producers. Are you contemplating first look deals, buying into production companies to secure a pipeline of high-end drama?
So far, I mean, here's the difference with us and what everyone else is doing. I don't do development deals, and we don't do pilots. So we make a big commitment to the show. And what we ask for in return for that commitment is that you will have done more development work on your own than you would have typically. So we want scripts, we want talent attached, we want a Bible, we want a good outline for the season, and then that's before we move forward. And as it turns out so far, there's enough choices to be made from that pool that I don't think we have to move that far forward into production. There's plenty of underutilized production infrastructure in the world.
But if those criteria are met, a relatively small, medium-sized independent producer could do business with you.
Absolutely.
And you will. Your door is open as long as they've got something to bring, more than an idea.
Correct.
Okay. I think this may have to be about the last, but let's go for it.
Conor Dignam from Broadcast. I'm just a little bit unclear about how much original content you think you're going to need. So on the David Fincher piece, 24 episodes, is that enough? I mean, how if you thought of yourself as a comparison to a network, HBO or AMC, how much original content are you going to need across a year, say?
I don't think there's an actual number where you'd say one more show is we need, or one less show is what would have been perfect. Because remember, it's not just the original programming. There's also a lot of exclusive programming that's licensed from other sources, and a large breadth of content, both movies and TV shows. So I do think that we can support a greater volume of original programming than most, because we don't have limited shelf, or we have unlimited shelf space, and we think we could find those audiences. And the idea would be that the shows that I show you, we have 5 original shows in different various states of getting ready to launch on Netflix, and they don't necessarily have overlap. So I'm not looking to produce shows that 25 million people in the United States want to watch, or 1 million people in the UK want to watch. I want to do the shows that will appeal to the subset of our audience, and then invest accordingly to the size of the audience of the show. So your point about, can a smaller independent company who meets that criteria bring us a show? Absolutely. If they bring us a big show, it's a big buy. If they bring us a small show, it's a small buy. So.
Okay. A couple of last questions before we must part. Deloitte's are doing free drinks downstairs, and we don't want to hold people back.
They're going to make a new chart after the drinking, you know. So.
The Netflix share price has been from $300 to $60 in the last 12 months. Why so volatile?
Well, you have to go back a little back further than that. You'd see when it went from $60 to $300, and no one was complaining about volatility. But it was our share price has always been volatile. We are trailblazing, and we are investing forward. So right now we're taking the profits from the business and investing in international. So if you believe in the international growth model, you invest in Netflix. If you don't, you don't.
So the analysts are hitting you hard, as they've done before, for actually investing in your future.
Correct. The same way they did when we invested in streaming.
Okay. And last question. I found out in private conversation before the session started that we both think that President Obama will be re-elected this fall.
I don't know. I do not recall this conversation.
No. At the end, if we're right, at the end of the second Obama administration, will Netflix still be in business?
We're here to stay. Yes.
Ted Sarandos, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks.
That was great. Well done.
Okay, thank you.